Hey everyone. I need to tell you something really important right from the start. You didn't make a mistake. You didn't fall out of alignment. And the universe is absolutely not testing you. It's preparing you. I know how it feels when everything in your life seems to just fall apart, all at once. When the plans that once felt so certain, so solid, begin to dissolve right before your eyes. When the people you counted on, the ones you thought would always be there, start to drift away. When the structures you so carefully built in your life start quietly, inexplicably crumbling. You tell yourself, oh, it's just a phase, it'll pass. Then, inevitably, you start to wonder if you've somehow misaligned, if you've done something wrong. And then, sometimes, you start to panic. But what if, just what if, nothing is actually going wrong at all? What if, instead, something incredibly profound is being realigned from a much deeper level? What if what looks like a frustrating delay is actually a sacred recalibration? What if the version of you who could genuinely receive and hold everything you've asked for is finally, truly beginning to emerge? And, as a natural consequence, everything in your current reality that isn't compatible with that new, higher frequency is being gently, or sometimes not so gently, moved out of the way. This is the part that almost no one tells you about real, deep manifestation. When you begin vibrating at a new level, even just slightly, the quantum field, that intelligent, responsive energy all around us, begins to reorganize your entire life to match that new signal. And that reorganization, especially in the beginning, can often look and feel like absolute chaos. You might feel like you're moving backward. You might feel like your vision, your dream, is slipping away. But what's really slipping away is the old identity, the old way of being, that no longer resonates with your next timeline, with who you are becoming. The confusion, the disappointment, the deep discomfort you might be feeling, they're not punishments. They are actually signs that the field is actively adjusting your external reality to match the new frequency you've been courageously calling in. That's not misalignment, that's momentum. It hurts though. I won't pretend it doesn't. There's a real pain in surrendering what once felt so safe, so familiar, even if it was limiting. There's an ache in learning to trust something invisible, something beyond your immediate senses. There's a genuine grief sometimes in the process of becoming someone new, without fully knowing yet who that someone completely is. It's disorienting because you're not just letting go of external outcomes or situations, you're letting go of deep-seated emotional blueprints. You're letting go of the part of you that learned to survive through control, the part that believed effort always equals worth, the part that mistakenly thought stillness was weakness. And that part of you, that old survival mechanism, it doesn't leave quietly. Oh no. It clings. It negotiates. It resists. Not because it's inherently wrong or bad, but simply because it's scared. It was never designed to help you thrive, it was designed to protect you. But protection, in that old, limited sense, isn't what you need anymore. What you need now, more than anything, is trust. You're not stuck. You're just, suspended, in a way, between identities. You're standing in the doorway between who you've always been and who you are in the profound process of becoming. And that space, that in-between, is uncomfortable precisely because it's unfamiliar. Your old coping mechanisms? They don't work here anymore. Your old mindset, your old ways of figuring things out? They can't follow you here. And the universe, the quantum field, it knows that. So, it waits. It patiently waits for you to become truly coherent. Not just emotionally for a fleeting moment, but vibrationally, consistently. Because the field doesn't respond to your fleeting desires, it responds to your dominant, sustained frequency. And when that frequency is filled with internal contradiction, with desperation cleverly disguised as affirmations, with control masquerading as strategy, the field simply can't deliver what you're asking for. That's why nothing seems to work when you're trying too hard. Because, trying, in energy terms, is often just resistance in disguise. You're not supposed to force your way forward, you're supposed to feel your way into alignment. And that true alignment, it doesn't come from performing perfect rituals or saying all the right words. It comes from becoming still enough, quiet enough, to recognize where you're unconsciously leaking your power, where you're still doubting yourself at a core level, where you're outsourcing your peace and your sense of okayness to some future moment or achievement. That's where the real preparation begins. Not on your vision board, not on your to-do list, but in that sacred space between your thoughts. The stillness beneath all the striving. That deep, conscious breath that says, even if I can't see it yet, even if it doesn't make sense right now, I know something profound is shifting. What if this isn't a delay at all? What if this very moment, this uncomfortable phase, is the exact point where your frequency is stabilizing into a new, more authentic reality? What if this is the detox before the true embodiment, the necessary pruning before the magnificent bloom? What if the universe isn't holding you back, but is actually holding sacred space for the real you to fully emerge, the one who can actually hold, sustain, and expand the incredible life they've been asking for, without collapsing under its weight? That's not a test. That's trust in action. That's the field doing what it does best, reflecting your truest readiness. So, no, you're absolutely not being punished. You're being positioned. You're being softened in all the places where past fear might have hardened you. You're being emptied of all the internal noise that kept you chasing things that were never truly meant to stay. You're being stripped of the illusions that constantly told you that you weren't ready yet. Because the truth is, now you are. And I know this stage doesn't always feel magical. Often, it feels raw, maybe a bit lonely, definitely uncertain. But this in-between, this sacred discomfort, is the threshold of profound change. It's that pivotal moment when your old story becomes too small, too constricting, and your new story hasn't fully formed into tangible reality yet. It's the pause before the leap, the silence before the true shift. And it's precisely here, in this uncomfortable grace, that your real power, your authentic essence, starts to surface. Because when the field senses that you're no longer trying to rush your way into alignment, but are actually willing to sit inside the space it's creating for you, it responds. Not out of obligation, but out of pure resonance. It starts to shape a reality around you that reflects your new center, your new stillness, your new, embodied truth. So, if things feel unstable right now, let them. If things feel slow, or heavy, or a bit foggy, trust it. It means you're entering the part of the process that matters most, the becoming. And the field, conscious and intelligent as it is watching, listening, calibrating to your next frequency. Because something essential in you has already shifted, and now, external reality is simply catching up. Let's move forward together, understanding this a bit more deeply. There's a common misconception that the universe sends us tests to see if we're worthy or strong enough. But the quantum field doesn't test, it simply responds. It doesn't need to measure your strength, it perfectly reflects your signal. And when that signal shifts, even slightly, everything in your life that was built on your old frequency begins to dissolve, not out of cruelty, but out of pure coherence. The field doesn't ask, "Are you ready?" It listens to your energy and essentially answers, "I hear you. Let me reflect that new truth back to you." And that reflection, that mirroring, isn't always immediate or exactly how we picture it. Sometimes, it even looks like things are getting worse before they get better. Not because you're failing, I promise you, but because your old foundation is literally being dismantled and replaced. Your external reality always lags just a little bit behind your internal vibration. So, when you genuinely change your emotional baseline, when you stop broadcasting from those old frequencies of fear, scarcity, or not enough, the field pauses. It doesn't punish you, it recalibrates. And that recalibration period is what most people unfortunately mislabel as being tested or failing at manifestation. Let's be absolutely clear, you're not being evaluated, you're being upgraded. And every significant upgrade requires a clearing out of the old. Just like the physical body purges toxins during a healing process, your energy field, your life, purges what no longer resonates with your new frequency. Old habits, relationships that were based on old dynamics, outdated ideas, roles you've outgrown, they all begin to fall away. And that space, that sometimes raw and empty space between letting go of the old and fully receiving the new, that's where most people panic. That's when the fear creeps back in. Because the logical mind, the ego, doesn't like emptiness. It wants to fill it with familiar stories, with blame, with anxious timelines. But the field, the quantum field, it loves emptiness. Because emptiness is pure potential. Emptiness is where the signal is clearest. Emptiness is where the collapse of a new, more aligned reality truly begins. This is quantum truth. Every time you emit a new vibration, a new frequency, you are essentially telling the field what you are now ready for. And if your current external life doesn't match that new vibration yet, it must begin to shift. But first, it often has to dismantle what doesn't belong in that new reality. That dismantling isn't destruction, it's profound alignment. You're not losing what's truly meant for you, you're losing what simply can't follow you into your next evolution. And yes, sometimes that can look and feel like chaos. Because anything you once clung to for your sense of identity, anything you once needed to feel safe or okay, is now being questioned, challenged, by your new, higher vibration. This is why major manifestations, those big life shifts, often come after a storm, not necessarily before it. Because the storm, the upheaval, often shakes loose what you wouldn't have, or couldn't have, let go of willingly. It pulls you out of old loops, old relationships, old jobs, old cities, old timelines, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to make room, to purify your signal. Because when your signal is clean, when it's coherent, the field has no resistance to reflecting it back to you. It doesn't hesitate, it mirrors. But until that coherence truly settles in you, until your being becomes more still and certain than your often anxious mind, the field waits. Not out of delay, but out of devotion to your truest signal. It waits for you to stop forcing. It waits for you to stop pretending. It waits for your frequency to stop flickering between doubt and trust. Because the field doesn't collapse based on words or wishes, it collapses based on sustained, embodied vibration. And vibration doesn't lie. So, when things seem to fall apart, please don't immediately ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, try asking, what is this making space for? Don't assume rejection, assume redirection. Don't resist the silence or the emptiness, learn to listen through it. Because the silence between realities is precisely where new timelines are rearranged. And if you can hold your center through that silence, if you can stay coherent while everything around you seems to uncoil or dissolve, the field has no choice but to meet you in your new, chosen frequency. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that the quantum field is a mirror for your internal state. But it's not a passive mirror, it's intelligent, it's alive. It senses your fear. It senses your trust. It senses when you're just pretending, and it senses when you've truly, deeply surrendered. When you no longer need the external outcome to feel whole and complete within yourself, that's often precisely when the outcome begins to form. When you stop grasping and start anchoring in your desired state of being, reality bends. But anchoring takes presence. It takes stillness. It takes immense courage to sit in that uncomfortable in-between and say, with quiet conviction, even here, even now, I trust. Because the moment you stop trying to fix, prove, or control your reality, your frequency becomes still. And in that stillness, there's clarity. And in that clarity, there's access. And in that access, manifestation stops being something you desperately chase and starts being something you naturally align with. So no, you're not failing because things are falling away. You are succeeding at a level far deeper than your ego can currently measure. You're becoming truly resonant with the life you once only had to imagine. You're becoming the version of you who no longer has to ask if it's working, because you can already feel the shift in your body, in your energy. That's the moment the field takes you seriously. That's the moment it stops responding to your fleeting rituals and starts responding to your consistent being. And that being, your true self, isn't trying to force the future, it's inviting it, allowing it. Let that sink in. In the next few minutes, we'll explore how this pause, this space between the old and the new, is not empty at all, but actually filled with profound quantum activity, and how learning to trust the perceived slowness is the very thing that unlocks the next, most incredible version of you. Are you ready to go deeper? There is a space, isn't there? A space between letting go of what was and fully receiving what's next. A strange, quiet, sometimes unnerving space where, on the surface, absolutely nothing seems to be happening. You've done the inner work. You've consciously felt the shift within. You've surrendered to the process. And then, silence. No immediate signs, no flashing neon evidence, just what can feel like emptiness. But please hear this, that emptiness isn't a mistake. It's not a delay from the universe. It is the recalibration zone, where timelines are being subtly rewritten, not by what you do externally, but by who you are consistently becoming internally. Most people mistake this crucial space for failure. They panic. They retreat back to old, familiar patterns. They start trying even harder, pushing against the current. They figuratively dig up the seed to see if it's growing. But the quantum field doesn't reward impatience, it responds with exquisite precision to coherence. And genuine coherence requires stillness, trust, and allowing. That's why this moment, this uncomfortable, often invisible, definitely unglamorous stretch, is arguably the most important part of the entire process. Because it reveals whether you truly trust your new frequency, or if you were just performing it, hoping for a quick result. You're not stuck, you're suspended, gracefully floating between timelines. The old one is definitely fading, you can feel it losing its grip. The new one isn't fully tangible in your physical reality yet, but you can sense it, can you? It's like a whisper, a promise. And something deep inside you already knows, this space is sacred. This is where the subconscious mind truly reprograms. This is where old emotional signatures finally dissolve. This is where your entire system stabilizes in a new, higher vibrational identity before your external reality fully reflects it. And yes, it often feels strange, like being no one for a little while, like not knowing exactly what to do next. That's because your very identity is shifting. You're no longer quite who you were, but you're not yet fully who you're becoming in the outer world. This is what true spiritual maturity often feels like. Not constant fireworks and epiphanies, but quiet integration and unwavering consistency. The field is watching, not with judgmental eyes, but with pure resonance. It's listening to the quality of your silence. It's sensing the shape of your vibration when you're not actively trying to do anything. Because when you finally stop pushing, your true, authentic frequency emerges. And that's the one that creates. Neville Goddard called this period the Sabbath, that sacred time of rest and trust between assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and actually seeing it manifest in your world. He said, if you persist in the assumption, it will harden into fact. But that persistence isn't about effortful striving, it's about vibrational stability. It's when you stop needing external proof and you become the living proof yourself. It's when you stop looking outside for confirmation because your body, your entire being, already knows the answer. So, if you feel like nothing is moving on the outside, that's actually good. It often means something much deeper is aligning on the inside. It means the surface is quiet because the very foundation is shifting. It means your system is learning how to hold this new, higher frequency without unconsciously collapsing back into the old, familiar patterns. It means your timeline is literally recalculating in real time. And your only job in this phase is to stay coherent. But coherence, in this context, isn't about perfection, it's about honesty. Can you stay present with yourself without trying to escape the discomfort or the uncertainty? Can you hold the frequency of trust even when there's no immediate external evidence? Can you allow the new timeline to form organically around your being, instead of trying to chase it down through force? This is the quantum pause. The field is patiently waiting for you to stabilize before it fully collapses the new reality. It's waiting for your signal to become consistent enough, clear enough, to create from. And that consistency isn't measured in intensity, it's measured in ease, in peace, in how lightly yet firmly you hold the vision, in how little you feel the need to grasp at it. Because the more you grasp, the more you energetically tell the field, I don't truly believe it's real yet. And the field, being a perfect mirror, reflects that underlying belief, not just your surface-level words. So, stop grasping. Start anchoring. Start living the vibration of, already done, already am. Start walking through your day like it's already a fact. Not for the field, primarily, but for you. Because when your nervous system finally, deeply believes it's safe to receive, it's safe to be this new version, the field responds almost immediately. This is where the real breakthrough lives. Not in all the external doing, but in the internal being. Not in achieving the outcome, but in your profound readiness to hold it, to embody it. And that readiness isn't proven by your rituals or your mantras alone, it's proven by your emotional neutrality. When the outcome no longer defines your worth or your peace, that's often when it gracefully arrives. When your joy isn't postponed until it happens, but is accessed and lived now, that's when it manifests. When you stop bracing for disappointment and start consistently living from alignment, that's when the new timeline locks in. The quantum isn't slow, you're just still stabilizing in its higher frequencies. Let it take the time it needs to match the beautiful precision of your soul's request. Let the unseen rearrange. Let the silence speak. Let the space you're in right now, no matter how uncomfortable it might feel at times, become your sacred training ground for unwavering trust. Because trust, genuine embodied trust, is the energy that collapses reality faster than anything else. In the very next section, we'll explore exactly how to move through this crucial recalibration phase without self-sabotage, how to stop interpreting discomfort as failure, and start recognizing it as a powerful symptom of deep, transformative alignment. Are you ready to fundamentally shift how you walk through the unknown? Then let's continue. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern in your journey. The more you try to force change, the more resistance you often feel. The more you desperately chase that next step, that desired outcome, the more it seems to slip away. That's not failure, that's crucial feedback. Because the quantum field doesn't operate on pressure or force, it moves in elegant response to pure resonance. And resonance comes not from urgency or striving, but from a deep, profound surrender. But surrender has been so misunderstood. It's not about giving up. It's not about passivity or resignation. It's about consciously choosing coherence over control. It's about deciding, moment by precious moment, to trust the timeline your soul has already chosen, even if your logical mind doesn't fully understand it yet. That's real power. And it's that power, that quiet certainty, that truly stabilizes your field. So, how do you cooperate with the quantum when everything around you might feel out of sync or uncertain? First, you absolutely have to stop interpreting discomfort as danger. Most of what you call fear, especially in this process, is just unfamiliarity. You're not scared because something is inherently wrong, you're often feeling unsettled because something is genuinely different. Because you've started to emit a new, higher frequency, and your nervous system, your body, hasn't quite caught up yet, it's still wired for the old familiar. That's not sabotage, that's integration. Let it happen. Breathe through it. Second, you stop asking, how do I fix this, and you start gently asking, what part of me is still resisting this beautiful unfolding? Because trying to fix what the field is already intelligently rearranging only adds more noise, more static, to your signal. The more you interfere with anxious energy, the more you inadvertently delay the process. But when you consciously breathe, soften, and release into the unknown, you become incredibly magnetic. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally still enough, open enough, to receive. This is where the teachings of Abraham Hicks offer a clarity that cuts right through all the confusion. You simply can't be in receiving mode and resistant mode at the exact same time. It's not about the intensity of your desire, it's about the degree of your allowing. And allowing isn't a passive state, it's an incredibly intentional choice. It's the conscious decision to trust that alignment works, even when you don't see the immediate external proof yet. And trust isn't some feeling you just wait for to magically appear, it's a frequency you choose to cultivate, especially in those very moments that feel most uncertain. That's when the universe, the field, listens the closest, not when you're just performing trust, but when you embody it from your core, despite the circumstances. So, what does that actually look like in daily practice? It looks like waking up in the morning and, instead of immediately scanning for what's missing or what's wrong, you consciously ask yourself, what beautiful energy am I choosing to radiate today? It looks like observing your thoughts without automatically believing all of them, especially the old, limiting ones. It looks like noticing that tightness in your chest, that anxiety rising, and consciously choosing to soften around it, to breathe into it, instead of spiraling into the old story. It looks like holding the same peaceful, centered energy whether the external manifestation has arrived or not. Because the field doesn't just want to give you what you want, it wants to see who you become while you're in the process of aligning with it. That's the preparation. That's the training. Not in a punitive sense, but in a way that brings precision and power. Your nervous system is the antenna, the cleaner the signal you send from it, the clearer the response you'll receive. That's often why things seem to fall apart before they beautifully fall into place. Because you simply can't manifest a new reality from a place of inner war. The field won't, and can't, collapse a new, harmonious reality around an old, discordant vibration. It will patiently wait until you stop vibrating primarily from old memories and outdated programs, and start consistently vibrating from the empowered now. That's the absolute key. And it's in the now, in your present state of being, that your future is truly decided. So here's a simple but profound shift you can make today, right now. Instead of constantly asking for proof that it's working, consciously become the living evidence. Instead of needing an external sign to finally feel aligned, let your consistent, internal alignment be the sign. Instead of waiting to feel safe once the outcome appears, consciously become the space where safety already, inherently lives within you. You don't need more steps to follow. You need more moments of deep stillness. You don't necessarily need another affirmation. You need to give yourself permission to truly feel how far you've already come. You don't need to do more, you often need to stop resisting who you are divinely guided to become. Because who you're becoming is already aligned. You're just learning how to meet them, how to embody them, in the field, without the old fear. So, take a breath. Let this land. If your path feels unfamiliar right now, it simply means you're on the very edge of your old map. And that, my friend, is precisely where all new, incredible realities begin. If the silence feels loud, good. It means the field is listening, and you're becoming quiet enough to hear its subtle responses. And if this message resonates deeply, if it spoke to a part of you that's been quietly holding on, waiting for this kind of permission, then let's mark this moment together. Drop this in the comments below. I trust the process. Not because it's always perfect or easy, but because it's precise, because it's not a punishment, it's sacred preparation. And as we move to close this journey for today, we'll explore not with more answers, but with the deeper remembrance that you are not here to just survive your life. You are here to walk fully, courageously into the frequency you were born to carry, the one the universe has been lovingly preparing you to hold, all along. Let's finish this together. By now, something in you has undeniably shifted. Not because you just got a new piece of information or a new answer, but because you've remembered an old, profound truth. You're not being tested, you're being trusted. The universe is not watching to see if you'll fail, it's actively rearranging your reality to support who you are in the process of becoming. And sometimes, yes, that rearrangement feels like resistance, like silence, like pain. But it's not punishment, it's preparation. You've asked for alignment. And now, the field is diligently cleaning out anything and everything that can't hold that new, higher vibration. That's often why it hurts. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're shedding the parts of you that were never truly, authentically you in the first place, the old expectations, the masks you wore for others, the timelines you outgrew but perhaps kept clinging to out of familiarity. The field is precise. It only responds to truth. And when your inner truth becomes louder, more resonant, than your conditioned fear, the field moves. That's what you've been feeling, not failure, but activation. The slow, deep, powerful emergence of coherence inside you. The stabilizing of your nervous system in a new, more empowered identity. The subtle but profound calibration to a version of you that no longer needs to perform, but can simply be. That's the shift. That's the preparation. Because receiving isn't about deserving, it's about genuine readiness. The universe already wants to give you everything you've ever asked for, everything that's in alignment with your highest good. It's just patiently waiting for your energetic field to be clear enough, open enough, stable enough to receive it. And that clarity isn't found in your words alone, it's in your frequency, your consistent emotional signature, your courageous willingness to soften instead of control, to trust instead of chase, to anchor into your desired state instead of constantly proving your worth. It's no longer about asking, when will it happen? It's about living from the energy that knows, it's already unfolding. Because that unwavering belief, when truly embodied, collapses timelines faster than any ritual or technique. You were never meant to force, you were meant to feel. You were never meant to hustle for alignment, you were meant to remember it. You're not here to earn your manifestations, you're here to resonate with them. And sometimes, yes, that resonance takes time to stabilize. Sometimes it takes things falling apart. Sometimes it takes sitting in the silence longer than you ever thought you could. But on the other side of that stillness, that surrender, is something incredibly powerful, stability. Not those emotional spikes that quickly burn you out, but deep, grounded, magnetic alignment. The kind of alignment that doesn't need constant external attention because it already knows. The kind of coherence that doesn't need proof because it has already become the evidence. And when you become the evidence, reality bends. The field responds. Things begin to move again. Not because you pushed harder, but because you finally stopped, you made space, you breathed, you stayed present, you softened, you surrendered without giving up. You trusted. And that trust became your new dominant signal, a signal so clear the universe couldn't ignore it, so powerful that timelines had no choice but to shift, so aligned that what once felt so far away became wonderfully, beautifully inevitable. That's what's happening for you now. Right now. Not someday. Not when you're more ready. Now. So, if this message resonated with that part of you that's been quietly, patiently holding on, if you felt even a flicker of clarity, or peace, or profound remembering, then please let this be your sign to keep going. Let this be the moment you consciously stop chasing and truly start receiving. Let this be the moment you decide not to do more, but to trust deeper. Let this be the moment you anchor fully into the knowing, I'm not lost, I'm being aligned. And if this space, if this frequency we've shared today, has felt like home to you, if it reminded you of who you really are beneath all the noise, then I'd love for you to stay. I truly hope that something in this message found you exactly when it needed to. And that's not a coincidence, that's coherence. This is your season of preparation. Trust it.